Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe I have myself in the better side of things here today because, quite frankly, you can't see the scars from this direction. Um, Not really sure how to say it here. I'm going to go with the forgotten kind of seductional amendment, the Third Amendment, the one of how much power does one truly have to do whatever they want to in society. In today's time and situation, state of emergency, times of war, with it being prescribed by law, they can take whatever they want from you and don't have to give you a receipt or bill of anything or something else like that. State under an imminent invasion, warring hostiles, everything else. Things are just crazy, aren't they? It's almost like we're back at the time of pioneer days or settler days, like they're coming over and settling a score because they're not colonials. Not really sure how this one's going to go with, but let me just tell you an incident once or twice that's happened here. Since, we'll just go with this house. They came in, and they'd already been to other houses and everything else, so it's kind of like same olds. Time of war, whatever. Um, Domestic troops, however you want to call it. And they took the power decks. It's halfway filled. Possibility of pipe bombs, everything else. Had everything measured, had all the bullets counted, and everything else. In case they needed to come for something for their own situation, counted the amounts of corn, everything else we had in the freezer, everything. Parents weren't here, came home early from school. Not like you're going to find a place over there to study at, like the library. How do people even do that? Um, Number of guns, everything else in working order with spare parts, everything. Um, Honestly, why I'd never have a military caliber. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should. Um, Call him Big Dutch. Going through, taking off everything. Everything came back within a week. Um, I was just lucky my dad didn't go in there because he just said I sold it. And they can come through, monitor your house at any time because of the Third Amendment. Do anything over that or anything else because you are a group that has known of associated with that which is groups that are labeled under the state and or national constitution, either by dissent or fraternization of assembly or caucusing, that has illegal or else hostile intentions or of a historical hostile nature. We'll just throw it out there and say the name's Colin. Or else Colin. Take your preference on the accent. Just in moving along with this, saying tomatoes need to be taken so they could see what was in the jar, and do a chemical analysis over it, and why people are supposedly so strong, willed, or something else, whatever it was that led to the situation, and the possibly building back of brains or anything else, blah, 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 even after Rex and everything. But in a state of emergency, state of war, anything else, which we are at war now, but we are not in a state of war domestically. Do they really have the right under the Third Amendment to confiscate property, come in, measure, take anything over it with the possibility of property, even if they were um, foreign national troops, which once here they're considered domestic troops because they're in here and have achieved some sort of level underneath that, which is recognition of the Social Security system and the draft. With all of this, does that then therefore mean that whatever it is a prescribement of law, or else what can be prescribed under law? Do they have to have a warrant in order to do any of this, since they are considered under troops and everything? Or is it just that they can come in and write a receipt for whatever it is and see if you can get compensation later? Can they confiscate anything of your business, thoughts and ideas, formulas, or anything else for the betterment of the state, being that the budget is so bad that it basically constitutes a state of emergency, as all debts are and are supposed to be paid off, and everything has to be done in order to try and maximize production and work in order to reach that. Going along with the Third Amendment, while I probably should expand something else out there, what does then therefore constitute troops, especially after the Patriot Act? Would one say that, like in Tennessee, that a security guard up to the governor is considered capable of being troops because they're under a license that comes from Nashville? Or would there be a separation like there are in certain other areas where the police are very strictly separate from any type of national federal situation? And that the state police, local police, city municipality police, and security guards are considered separate, even if they're separate underneath their own situations, such as city and local police. Security guards can be augmented into almost any place under private hire nowadays. And the state police are separate from the local and city. They're also separate from the National Guard. They can be augmented and made into it and said to work underneath it, such as national disasters, under a state of emergency then. Does state of emergency still allow people to confiscate whatever it is without warrant, meaning, or writ? And, I'd love to say some things about writs out there because, honestly, writs to me are just something where someone has a private situation and says, I have a writ. Okay, is a national warrant or anything else, or national exclusionary thing? Because I can have a writ too. I wrote something earlier today. I know that's pretty bad to say because a writ up in New England is basically almost like something that must be issued from JAG situations, which still allow them to go across anything almost as though they are a form of the government. And the writ does come from the government and is legally binding in certain situations. But the whole situation over the amendment and how there is personal property in the Third Amendment, as well as personal rights derived from that in a lot of ways, is very questionable off of anything, depending on the nature of situations and how much it is. I would like to stop there and just leave that for food for thought. And since the Third Amendment is so open with this into one situation, that and it really is my favorite amendment, because it's just so interestingly vague and inclusive. But like and subscribe and comment down below. We'll be moving on with the second part of the Third Amendment shortly.